Welcome to Alchemist Camp, where we learn Elixir by building things. And right now, we are programming the website for alchemist.camp. So this is a very meta episode. And we got it working. Basically, living the life now. We've got a few routes. And we've even got some awesome secret routes that might remind you of childhood video games if you're of the Nintendo generation. But it's kind of a pain. Like, let me full screen this here. If we want to add a route, we have to add it into our main application here. We have to pass it into the dispatcher. And then in our page handler, we have to add something else for it. So this is a bit silly. We do have a state variable we're using to pass around the atom that holds the route. And we also have a request, and in the request there should be information about the route. So let's see if we can get that out, and then we wouldn't have to be passing the routes in every single call from Cowboy. So we'll go into IEX. Actually, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change this, because this is a lie. It's on port 8080 now, which I did for working with Nanobox. So we will honestly report that it's 8080, and then we'll add a little bit of logging information. io.inspect rec, and restart the IEX session, and then hit a route. Okay, we got a whole bunch of stuff, the language, the user agent, and we do have the path. So since we've got the path, let's see if we can get that out. I just looked at the docs, and there is something in Cowboy called Cowboy rec.path. And we pass it the request, and it should just give us the path. And you can see we have two elements in a tuple. The first element is a path. The second element is the entire request. And that's really good, because you may recall from our minimal to-do list or from the tic-tac-toe game that we started, it's very common to store all your state and then pass it around from function to function to function. And if a function returns the state, then the next function can take that as its first argument, and then you can set up a chain of pipelines to process, and it's really convenient. So we've got the path in the rec. There's also an OK. So we will catch both in a tuple, or there's not an OK, there is also the rec. So we'll say path and rec equal Cowboy rec path, and then instead of content for state, we're just going to say content for path. And unfortunately, this path is going to be a string, just like it was in IEX. So we're going to have to change all of these to strings, and they're starting with the base slash. This one is just going to catch all, and this one is that path, and base is just going to be the slash. Okay, we'll stop IEX and start it again, even though we didn't change anything. In here, we've got to pass nothing anymore. And there's a syntax error before Cowboy rec path rec. Oh, we need the match operator. So we're not finding anything. That's not ideal. Content for state. Oh, not for the state. Content for path. Okay, it's looking good. Now that we're getting the content for the path, we don't need to be passing in all of these different routes. We actually just need one route, and it will even handle the default since we're catching the wildcard in our page handler. So the one route we need to handle is going to be like so. Then our dispatch is only going to need that one route as well. All is still good. So now when we add more routes, it's a much lower cost than it used to be. And if we look at our page handler, this could actually use a little bit of refactoring because we have part of it that is really independent from our app. And then we have some of it that's very much tied to our app. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all of these things out and put them into its own file and call it a router. Just put that under web as well. Router.ex. Campsite.web.router. And we're gonna make this align, and anything else we have to change. It would be better if we made all of these private and had a single access. So we're gonna do that. Def p makes those private functions, and then we'll make a call that just accepts a path and returns content for that path. And this will be the public access point for everything inside the router. Then our handler is looking pretty lean now. We do need a way to get at this content for though. So we're going to take the router in and pass it all over the function. And we'll return the router. So basically the state is just going to be our router. And instead of content for path, it's going to be router.call path. And then in the application, that means we do have to pass something in. We have to pass in the router. It means in our application, we do have to pass something in. We have to pass it a router. And it's pretty easy to see how this it's pretty easy to see how this page handler could eventually become a library that you just drop into other apps. Whereas this router, at least for now, is full of a bunch of stuff related to this application. So let's save everything and restart. It's usually because I forgot to do, oh no, I had an extra end. Okay. Okay. Looks like a good spot to save our progress. We'll get status, get diff, okay. Get path from rec. And at this point, it's pretty easy to see how we could just build out the site with whatever we want. Although each individual page would require quoting a huge string of the entire contents of the page and pasting them into these functions. So what we're going to do instead is set up a way to read static files. So it's possible to just drop an HTML file and get something up quickly. And then we'll worry about making it dynamic after that. So there is a thing that Cowboy can do, which Phoenix uses, that's called Cowboy static, and you can set a route where it will simply get static content and serve exactly what that content is, much like you would see Nginx or Apache doing. Actually, we're going to make a priv static, same sort of structure as Phoenix itself uses. Priv, did I make it priv? Well, let's not do that. Let's make it priv static. And since I want to add a logo, I'm going to make an images directory under here. Images. Okay. And in our page handler, we don't need to do anything. In our application, we need to add another route, which is just for static things. And the route has to go first. So we'll do that. Call this one route 2. Actually, we'll just call this one main route. And call this one static route. The static route takes a base location, which will be the root of our application. And instead of passing it the campsite web page handler, we'll pass it Cowboy static. Then it requires a tuple with private directory and the name of the application, campsite, and where that is on the server. This is going to be at static, and that's it. And it should figure out images being a subdirectory. Okay, we will now grab an image to put in. I've got a small logo file from my initial logo. I just made a smaller one. And let's run IEX. Missing a terminator because I had a nested tuple and I only closed it once. Okay. Undefined function route. So it is. I'm going to pass it static route and main route. And I'll repeat, the static route has to be first. Okay, nothing that was working is broken, but now let's see if we can look at static, that's right, slash images slash logo dot jpg. That does not work. And oh, the joy of Erlang errors. They're so much more cryptic than Elixir errors, or at least I'm less used to reading them. Okay, so we have reason function clause, MFA, which stands for module function argument, Cowboy static, rest init 2. Rest init 2. So it looks like it's not happy with the arguments that I gave it. Campsite static. Oh, I believe I have to do something like this. Dot dot dot. Close bracket. That's syntax that Cowboy processes to mean anything after that. It's a wildcard match. Ah, all right. And out of curiosity, will it show a directory listing? It won't do that, but it will show files that are there. And we could just make a file here that's foo.txt. Ha ha ha. Save that. And foo.txt. Now it's there. Interestingly, we have to restart the server. And why is it asking me to download it? If I make it HTML and save that, I'll try not restarting the server. Nothing there. Restart the server. Something's there. So this means that our static assets don't automatically get compiled. One thing I didn't point out is that Cowboy actually represents strings in binary. So that's part of why it's so fast, but you do have to compile new assets. And that's what you do in mix phoenix.digest. Now, the next thing to do is to actually make the Alchemist camp website. So I'll get rid of this that we do not need. Really useful resource if you want to do some quick and dirty site is Dillinger.io. Dillinger.io is a markdown to text tool, and as you can see, it's pretty sophisticated. It's got code quoting, so it's not just the old school markdown. It's like a GitHub flavored markdown, and it does tables. We're going to use that actually. So let's just throw something up. Alchemist camp. And instead of this, it's going to be my logo. We'll just grab logo. It's going to be images/logo.jpg. And you know what? That's not how the syntax works. Yeah, it is. Yeah, because we're not linking. We're not going to have like an additional link wrapping around the logo. Alchemist camp is where we learn Elixir and Phoenix by building things. And let's make it more pretentious. Put it in quotation marks. Type some markdown. All right. So what are the features here? I think the first feature is there are free programming screencasts. And there are code snippets, or there will be at least by the time people get here, challenges and links here on YouTube, and premium course material for members. Lesson archive. And let's make that one a little bit less important. Make that a 2. And I really want to use some of those tables, so I'm just gonna do like so. So let's see, what should our structure for the lesson table be? I think we need title, YouTube link, and we're going to have a third field for topics. Oh, now the whole table is broken. Come on. And you don't need to watch me make all of this. I'm gonna flesh it all out. All right, I've scraped all the information I need out of YouTube. Now I've just got them in an untitled text file here, and I'm gonna edit this. Should be pretty quick with Visual Studio Code. Hold down Control Alt to multi-line select. Actually, no, I won't. I'm gonna turn the YouTube lines into Markdown first. So first I gotta match all the YouTube links. I've basically just done title, link, and then topics for the episode. So in Markdown it is, I believe the name of the thing in brackets, YouTube. and then YouTube link, and then parentheses. Oh wait, these are all the same number. Otherwise, we'll have to jump to the end of the line. Okay. And then go back to one cursor and do one for each line, holding Control and Alt and down. Okay, that's all of them. And we need vertical pipes and a space and shoot. Need vertical pipes. We need one more than that. Oh, we need 4 more than that. Okay. Vertical pipe, a space back there, backspace, and I'll put everything on one line. But I've got double pipes here. Because I had spaces between each episode. All right. That looks about right. Sure, we don't need that space and don't need that one. Okay, copy this into Dillinger and good enough. Okay, and add a link to the contact page. Oh, that's interesting. Docker for Dillinger. I might actually set up Docker locally. I might actually set up Dillinger locally. Contact. Actually, just say links. And we'll make these unordered lists. Twitter.com/Alchemist camp. We already have YouTube links everywhere there, so I think this is sufficient. Export as HTML. Let's export as styled HTML. Open it as a test. Don't have the logo because we're not on the site. Oh, one of the YouTube links is broken. All right, we'll go back and fix that. Lesson 7, all right. There was a dash in one of them, and make sure that works. It does work. Okay, so re-export it as styled HTML, and then we'll drag it into campsite, priv static. Stop the server, restart the server. So it is up, but it only shows up if we go to index.html. Not quite like how it would work with Apache. That's not a problem. We'll just make a static route for the base path, and we will call this root path. And it's going to match to root exactly. Still use Cowboy static, but now it's priv file, since we're just going to serve a single file rather than a whole directory. Index.html. Now we've got the index.html. This should still get everything else. Let's try IEX again. Oh, zing. All right. Root path server is up, and we got it. So this looks like a huge improvement over what we had. And to deploy is just Nanobox deploy. much quicker than it was yesterday. Probably because we're not spinning everything up on DigitalOcean. Success. Try reloading. And we have deployed a significant improvement. Okay, that's it for today. If you found this useful, then definitely keep in touch, check out the site, and soon I'll come up with a way for you to add comments on it. We've got to add a little bit more to our app, but that will move along very quickly. Until next time, may all of your modules compile nicely, and see you later.